Welcome to the deep dive.
Hello.
We're looking at a really interesting article today. It gives us a snapshot of some very recent diplomatic moves concerning the Ukraine conflict.
That's right. And what we want to do, our mission here, is to really pull out the key details from this source. We're talking about a U.S.-Russia foreign minister call and these direct talks kicking off again in Istanbul.
Yeah, the second round this year. And the thing that really jumps out from the article, the context it gives, is pretty stark.
It is. You've got this high-level diplomacy, the call, the planned talks.
After a long break in direct talks, too.
Exactly. But then the source highlights intense military action reportedly happening, like right up to the minute these talks are supposed to start.
It's that contrast, that juxtaposition that the article really focuses on. We need to unpack what that might tell us.
Okay, so let's start with the diplomatic lead-up. The source points to this phone call on June 1st.
Between U.S. Foreign Minister Rubio and Russian Foreign Minister Lavrov.
Yeah. And the stated purpose, according to this article anyway, was pretty clear.
Which was?
To talk about, prospects for a political resolution. And specifically to discuss the upcoming Istanbul talks between Russia and Ukraine.
And there is a detail the source flags here about who initiated the call.
Right. The article notes that the request for the call actually came from the Russian side.
Okay, so Moscow reached out.
Seems so. And during the conversation, the source says Mr. Rubio reiterated President Trump's position,
Which is?
encouraging continued direct talks between Moscow and Kyiv. The goal being, and this is the phrase the article uses, lasting peace.
The lasting peace. Okay,
Yeah.
so that call kind of sets the diplomatic table for the main event the source is covering.
Exactly, which is this second round of direct talks between Russia and Ukraine for this year.
Happening June 2nd. The article gives a time.
It does, 1 p.m. Istanbul time, which, helpfully, it notes, is 5 p.m. Hanoi time.
And the location? Same as last time.
Yes, Saigon Palace in Istanbul, Turkey. Historic place.
Now, the delegations, the source gets specific here, and I think that's important, right? It tells us maybe what's really on the agenda.
Absolutely. For the Russian side, the article mentions it's led by Vladimir Medinsky, again, Putin's assistant. Same lead as the first round on May 16th.
Okay, continuity there.
But look at the rest of the team listed. A deputy foreign minister, sure, but also the head of intelligence of the general staff.
Wow, the GRU chief, essentially.
And a deputy defense minister.
Yeah.
So heavy hitters from the military and intelligence side.
That's definitely not just a political chat delegation. What about the Ukrainian side? Similar makeup?
The source says their team includes Defense Minister Rustem Umerov, a deputy foreign minister, and notably it mentions other military and intelligence officials too.
So the article is highlighting that both sides are bringing serious military and intel folks to this meeting.
Seems to be the case, yeah.
Now, the article also gives us some background on the first round of talks this year, just for context.
Right, because these June 2nd talks aren't happening in a vacuum. That first round was also in Istanbul back on May 16th.
And the significance there, according to the source?
Well, it was the first direct dialogue between Moscow and Kyiv in over 3 years. So a big step, just getting them in the same room.
Did anything concrete come out of that first meeting? The article mentions something.
It does. There was an agreement on a prisoner exchange, based on what the source calls the 1,000 for 1,000 rule.
Okay, so a practical step, an equal swap.
Yes. But the article also makes clear that they didn't agree on conditions for a ceasefire. That remained a point of disagreement.
But they agreed to keep talking.
They did. Both sides committed to future talks, which, well, leads us to this second round now.
Okay, now let's get back to that stark contrast the article emphasizes. The timing of these June 2nd talks against the immediate military backdrop.
Yeah, this is where it gets quite dramatic, according to the source. It specifically points out these intense attacks happening, like the day before the delegations were due to meet in Istanbul.
And it includes claims from Ukraine.
Yes. Ukraine reportedly claimed destroying a significant number of Russian strategic aircraft. The article lists 40 planes, 2 22M3s, 2 95MS bombers, and even A-50 early warning aircraft during attacks on Russian airfields.
Those are major assets, huge claims, and Russia's actions.
Well, according to the Ukrainian Air Force, as cited in the article, Russia launched a massive wave of UAVs, 472 long-range suicide drones.
Well, 472.
That's the number reported. Ukraine apparently called it the largest overnight UAV attack they'd seen so far.
The article also mentioned some other incidents inside Russia.
Briefly, yeah. 2 bridge collapses reported in Bryansk and Kursk, regions bordering Ukraine around May 31st and June 1st.
And the source ties this back to that U.S.-Russia call.
It does. It notes that during their phone conversation, U.S. Foreign Minister Rubio actually offered condolences to Lavrov for Russia's losses.
So you have this picture. Massive claimed aircraft losses for Russia, a record UAV attack launched by Russia, bridges collapsing, condolences being offered, all literally hours before these peace talks are set to begin.
It really underscores the paradox, as the article frames it. Diplomacy pushing forward amidst intense, ongoing conflict.
So stepping back, what does this specific snapshot, based purely on this article, really show us?
Well, I mean, it paints a picture of just how complex this situation is, doesn't it?
Yeah.
You see this clear diplomatic effort. The U.S. is involved, encouraging talks. Russia and Ukraine are actually meeting directly again. That's significant.
But it's not happening in some sort of, quiet diplomatic bubble.
Not at all. The article emphasizes it's happening with this backdrop of really aggressive military action, major attacks, significant reported losses, right up to the eve of the talks.
So understanding these specific details, like the timing and the nature of the military actions reported, it shows you the reality on the ground, right? Diplomacy is trying to gain traction while the fighting is still incredibly fierce.
Exactly. It illustrates that these tracks, the diplomatic and the military, are running in parallel and maybe even influencing each other in ways that make progress really, really difficult.
So here's something to think about, drawing only from what this article has presented. You have that stated goal of lasting peace from the U.S.-Russia call. You have the delegations for these Istanbul talks, including senior military and intelligence figures from both Russia and Ukraine. And you have this immediate context of what's described as the largest UAV attack to date, and claims of major strategic aircraft losses, all happening right before they sit down. Given that specific combination of factors reported here, the high-level goal, the specific personnel involved in the talks, and the intensity of the conflict right at that moment, what might that suggest to you about the kind of path, or perhaps the immediate focus, these talks might actually take towards any potential resolution, something for you to mull over.